Morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. It's time to talk about The Last of Us. We're on season 1, episode 7, Left Behind, a flashback episode, so to speak. Just like, just like Ben and not Ben, sorry, Bill and Frank. It is bookend with the main story, but the meat of it is basically the flashback. What did you think of this episode, boss man?
Um, I was really not to like it because I'm not really a big fan of flashback episodes, to be honest with you. Because usually I feel that they derail the story that we're following. But I kind of liked it. I kind of liked this one because we got to see Ellie's personality come out more and like what sort of person human being she is. Like we got to see how reactionary she is. So it was a total character episode for Ellie. So I really liked it. As I said, I mean, the fact is, I came into it quite negatively because you told me last episode that it was going to be a flashback, so I was a little bit hesitant. But you know what? I think they did a really, really good job of having it be like a character piece for Ellie. So I think it was a really good job. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I liked it. Once again, I'm not the biggest fan of flashbacks personally. When I was watching the shows like Titan, I think season 2, they did flashbacks a lot in that season, and it really pissed me off because the main story was what I really wanted. But I have to be honest with you, I did enjoy the two flashback episodes we've gotten so far in Bill and Frank and now Ellie and Riley. So yeah, it was good stuff. Before I we continue, let's just quickly mention Daniel Vance here with some nice messages towards Cheeto. He's fine, by the way. I've spoken to him earlier. Tornado sirens are blazing here about past 20 minutes. Stay safe, Cheeto. And I'm going to give you an update on
Essentially,
Cheeto.
to Jose, our other friend who's in America. I
Yeah,
don't think
he's
he's
in
in.
Denver though, so he's fine. Those things are not bothering him. But one day you're surviving a train crash, the next day tornado. Ohio, welcome to hell. Yep. And Riley Ellie's story taken directly from The Last of Us: American Dreams by Dark Horse Comics, a great read. I also thought it was part of a DLC as well, which is what I heard. This was straight from that. But regarding Cheetah, just so you know, he didn't live too close to the incident regarding the train derailment. So I believe he won't necessarily be affected by some of the stuff like the contamination of the water and stuff like that, which has happened. So we can thank. I say this. I say this very much tongue in cheek. We can thank God for that. But yeah, he's okay, just so you know. And we're going through a lot of shit, like it was minus 16 degrees Celsius once in Ohio. I mean, he showed me the Fahrenheit -2. It was probably minus 16 in Celsius. I couldn't believe it. Anyways, let's talk about this episode, shall we? So, as I said earlier, we did begin, and for me, that was the most important thing. What's happened with Joel? Now, it seems that Ellie had dragged Joel to this house and she was trying to help him there. Now Joel basically told Ellie, "Just leave me, just leave me." And even though Ellie doesn't want to be hearing this, when she does like walk upstairs, you don't know what she's doing. Is she looking for anything that will help the situation, or is she actually genuinely going to leave him and maybe go back to Tommy or something like that, which is what he suggested? And then boom, that's when we get the flashback. And boy, is this one hell of a flashback. So are you happy with how it started, boss man? Was
Yeah,
it still yeah?
because I think we both would have thought it was a complete sort of cop out if they just went straight to the flashback. So I like the fact that they kind of did a juxtaposition between current events and past events with regards to Ellie and Riley and Joel and Ellie, because it shows you that Ellie, despite how she comes across as a hard ass, she will stick by people she cares about, and I think that's what's important in both stories is that she wants to keep people who she cares about really close, and it's and I think that this is an important story. I mean, as I said when this first started, I was very negative towards it, but I think it's the other way, to be honest with
Yeah, they're following the same formula as I said earlier to episode 3, where they did do a bit of the current day storyline, as well as have a bit of as have the flashback being the major part of the story of the episode. But once we get into it, we see Ellie kind of training to be the next generation of enforcer. You know, what was the name of that group she's part of? Is it Vendetta or what the hell is it called?
I can't remember
Uh,
something. I'm sorry.
yeah, but nevertheless, they're training her to be the next generation of forces. She has a fight with one of her colleagues who doesn't like Ellie because for some reason, and her mate Riley's no longer there, and so that's why she had a fight with her. But we do come to find out that there's more to Ellie than we we knew. Like the people at this organization, they think that she's got leadership potential, that she's very intelligent and all of that. So they are telling her to stay on the straight and narrow. And that's when we see Ellie then in her room, reading comic books and stuff. And then when she finally goes to bed, Riley pops in. Anything to say so far?
I think it was good character building because the thing is we got to see, what people see in her, but also that she kind of rejects authority to a degree, but she kind of has the what's the word, the setting for greatness and stuff like that. It's kind of like
Mhm.
she's a multi-layered character, and I think that this particular episode shows the layers beneath the onion. And I kind
Yeah,
of I'm too much. I always appreciate episodes like that where it kind of shows that the person's not just one dimensional, and I think that this is like a really good one for that.
like when she told her officer, "Yeah, just put me in the hole." And the guy goes, "I've put you in the hole 3 times, nothing changed." So, but she got a Walkman back as well, and she likes reading these comics. And I guess in a world where you haven't got the luxury of just switching on the television and watching what's going on, I guess comics and books and stuff like that is what kids go through. And even then, like Walkmans and music. I mean, I'm surprised she doesn't have a CD player, but that would have been around at that period. But nevertheless, she's lucky to have a Walkman, and she listens to all this music and
Like
stuff.
I'm trying to think when did the thing get 2003? I think that would have been the year of the first iPod. I'm sure it would have been.
Possibly, but there's more likelihood that she would still have a CD player. You
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
around about that period. So still, nevertheless, it is obviously now 2023. So, anyways, she gets interrupted in her sleep by somebody who we initially believe is trying to maybe kill her or beat her up or whatever. But no, it's her friend Riley. She does some stupid prank where she tries to put her hand over Ellie's mouth and stuff like that. Doesn't work out the way she planned it. She said in her mind it was supposed to be funny, and I know what they mean. Sometimes you have this idea of how to you want to prank somebody or do a joke, and then when you do it, it ends up being really fucked up and it doesn't come across as funny as you thought it would be for that person. And it's happened to me as well. Like I've had somebody play some sort of stupid prank on me and I haven't appreciated it in the way that they thought I would. So okay, that was that was an OG that was an OG Walkman tape base. Yes, it was, mate.
Yeah,
I used to have
so
one of those back in the day.
yeah, I like that. I like that because the thing is that it gets to show that, like, that they're friends, that they like to play kind of like practical jokes on each other, and that there is this like very close bond between the two.
Yeah. So um Riley wants to take Ellie on a trip with her, and I think this. I'm not sure when this was revealed, but I think Riley's told Ellie that she's a Firefly.
Yes, she did. Yes.
Yeah, and obviously Ellie working for the opposing faction, but they have their disputes about who's in the right. And Riley did tell Ellie that she was always planning to join the Firefly. So, anyways,
Daniel Vanson with his dodge again. The guy they come across was played by Ian Rosillo. he's a mocap stunt actor. He's done games like Resident Evil, Warm Bodies, Dead Rising, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Bloody hell, quite a resume.
Yeah. So as they're you see them walking about town late at night, and they're going through buildings and climbing up onto rooftops. It kind of reminded me of the beginning of the Matrix when they're on the rooftops. Anyways, they finally reach their destination, and Riley has a surprise for Ellie, and he tells her to go outside the door, turn right, and wait over there. And then next thing you know, Riley hits a switch, and all these lights come on because the generator is still powering the mall, and that's what she's in a mall, you know. And I have to say, I don't know how they pulled this off, whether it was a real mall or a set, but my goodness, it looked fantastic. I mean, it wasn't special effects.
I'm personally gonna say I'm gonna just go on a limb here. I think it's a real wall because that looked too good to be a set. Because the thing is that it had like legitimately looking like
Yeah,
mall.
but they had to trash it, Bossman, to a degree. You
Yeah,
know,
but
they would have to, and then
they
like
could
they would
get
have to
disused
close.
walls.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, they would have to find the mall which is no longer operational, and maybe just then obviously s- turn it into something that looks like it's been abandoned. Um, Cousin Tito says subscriber clickers will come after you. Yeah, you're damn right. So they're in this mall, and they're gonna Riley's gonna show the eight wonders of the world, wherever the fuck they were. But one of the things that Ellie initially is just mesmerized by is a fucking escalator, and you can imagine that, you
Electronic
know.
stairs.
Yeah, electronic stairs. By the way, also just to go back a bit, we also saw that book of puns. She had
Yes.
volume one as well, which was a nice little touch, which was pretty cool. But they go around, they're walking through the mall. You can see that this place has been ransacked, and it's amazing stuff like the sports shop. All the trainers have been taken. Yet then you got like a body shop, and nobody's taking soap, and you and you know, like nobody even thought about taking soap. And then you realize that now, once you're surviving the apocalypse and you're living in it, maybe staying clean and stuff like that was an afterthought initially, but stuff like soap would be super fucking valuable, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, if I
yeah,
was her, I would have grabbed some of that and tried to sell it. Be like,
yeah,
make
yeah,
some.
for sure, for sure. But then again, they weren't really there to loot because the time was of the essence, so to speak, as Riley said, and said, you know, I need to show you some things. So one of the first things she showed her was a carousel.
No, no,
Which is-
you missed a bit. She takes her to was it either Victoria's Secret or Agent Provocateur, one of the two.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
this was the first bit where I'm like, all right, she's into it because she's there going, I'm just imagining you in that, and it's like it's the first time we kind of see like Ellie wanted to be kind of feminine in a way. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean that in a she's kind of like picture herself in that sort of thing.
it's also like with the time that you know that like women are now more on equal terms than anything ever in their lifestyle ever in history, simply because of the time they're in. You know, there's no place for in the apocalypse for traditional values, so to speak. Women and men, they need to work together, pull together, do the same shit together, pretty much. And so, like when they're seeing stuff like lingerie and 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 the means for being effeminate towards boys, they just don't get it. You know what I mean? And I very much
No,
appreciated
but
seeing how they're different.
I think this was them kind of like flirting with each other a little bit as well.
Well, it seemed to me that Ellie was more flirting, was more interested. The way they filmed it, it definitely looked like Ellie was more interested in Riley. But there was a bit of an age gap as well. Like Riley's like 17, and you could just tell at that young age that when you start to develop, just a couple of years can make you look a little bit different to somebody just a year or two younger than you. And I think Ellie's still like 14 or 15. Anyways, they do eventually end up at the carousel, and this was a nice moment too. The carousel like going around in circles, and it doesn't go up and down.
Yeah, we don't live in America. I mean, if you do live in America, is that something that is in America? Like, are carousels in malls in America? If you're in America,
Yeah,
please
man.
tell us.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I have been to America, and I have seen carousels in malls in America because fucking malls, they're part of life in the United States.
Yes,
You
it
know,
was like that.
yeah, yes. But that was a nice touch. And when the carousel broke, I thought, ooh, zombie. But I'm thinking to myself, a zombie's not going to know how to switch off a fucking carousel. So it wasn't that. It's just that obviously it's the wear and tear. And after that, Riley takes Ellie to the most special place, and that is an arcade. And it's amazing. No, sorry, no, I'll take that back. They go to a photo booth. They go to a photo booth. They go to a photo booth first.
And they start doing like what would now be known as flaming, like, IG pictures, like sort of like duck faces and stuff like that.
Well, it's funny because like this is still quite a remarkable thing for someone like Ellie regarding photographs, even though I thought there still might be cameras around. But then again, when it comes to creating the actual pictures, it's very difficult to do. But I would have thought they might have had Polaroids at some point, But anyway, nevertheless, this is still a remarkable thing, and Riley has $5, and she because I'm very happy that the machines still need the money, regardless of money not being any use. Because once they go to the arcade machine, there's fucking money everywhere. Like there's money on the floor, dollar bills on the floor, there's coins. Because it just goes to show you that when we do have an apocalypse or something along those lines, when we do come to the desperate needs, money doesn't mean jack shit.
No.
And they've tried to make a sort of capitalistic society, which we saw in episode 1 with the ration cards, so to speak. But the reality is that they're no different. It's no different to money. It doesn't really mean shit. It's just a way of like it's a glorified IOU. It's saying, okay, this piece of paper allows me to get something extra when really it means fuck all. But there's money there, and they pick up the money. They play Mortal Kombat 2, and this is a nice callback to episode 2, where we saw Ellie looking at the Mortal Kombat machine in that shop, and she mentioned Melina and stuff like that, and we see how she knows about that because she was playing with Riley, and Riley was able to do a fatality on her and all of that.
And this is when the infected wakens, when the thing that's attached to the wall starts like coming down and go. Because I kind of thought that was good with it being just proposed with Melina's finish, which is like literally like sucking somebody's body and then spitting out the bones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tons of bodies. Soap can always be made. Yeah. The carousel was playing. I was playing The Cure, Just Like Heaven. Yeah, I recognize that song. I just couldn't put a finger on it. Thank you very much. You can find carousels in most American malls. You can even find rides outside a lot of grocery stores. Yeah, they're trying to keep the fucking kids entertained, with little bastards. The arcade when we first hear it sounds like a bunch of infected walking. Okay, I didn't really notice that myself. Here we go. I missed one out. As they're leaving the photo booth, and as Riley says, fourth wonder of the mall, you can hear a female whispering, "Listen." Soon after, Riley tells Ellie to listen. Okay.
Because I mean, the thing is that this has all been building up to Riley telling Ellie that she's going to be going to was it do tour with the Fireflies in Atlanta? I think it was.
Well, after they stop fucking around on the arcades, they go to where Riley's been sleeping and hanging out, and it's this sort of like ice cream parlor, I think, or something like that.
Just like that.
And I thought they were going to have some 20-year-old ice cream, but no, that was not the case. We see just basically that the layout of where Riley's sleeping, but then we also see Riley's made some bombs, and this is kind of like shows you the divide between Riley and Ellie, because Ellie's still working for the faction, so to speak, and Riley's going to be using these bombs, and it might hurt young people, it might hurt innocent people, and all of that, and you can see the friction between the two of them now regarding their ideologies. This is where like sort of like the line was drawn to a degree. Riley does basically protest by saying, "Look, she's not going to use them, for for notorious purposes, but they do need them." So yeah. Anyways, this really pisses off Ellie, and then she decides to fuck off and walk off. And while she's walking away, I mean, the whole time I'm waiting for that zombie to wake up and chomp on her. But I do believe I always knew that the bite she had on her arm was from this moment. Yeah, I always knew that. So while she's walking away, she then decides to turn around, and then she starts hearing a scream. And I thought, oh, okay, here we go now. And she hears a scream but she walks into some sort of like costume shop or something like that with Halloween themed stuff. And no, it's not that. It's just some sort of, some puppet which is screaming, which is coming out of like a makeshift grave. And yeah, it's just Riley playing another prank on Ellie. Nice little touch, don't you think?
Yep.
Nice little fake out as well, because I think we both genuinely thought this was a zombie doing the attack.
I thought it was as well.
But then they start dancing, and this is like there's been a couple of will they won't they moments during the course of this episode, but eventually, will they finally happen? And Ellie can't contain herself, and she ends up kissing Riley. And
I didn't know how Riley would react to that, because I didn't know. Because the thing is that both of them haven't really talked about their sexuality, really, and I think that's something that people really happens in real life. It's that when we do finally make a move with somebody, we're putting a lot out there, and I think if you're LGBT, putting it out there comes with a lot more risk than if you're a straight person.
This is a different time. This is
it's not that. Like, you keep saying different time. We've got to remember that that Ellie comes from a world where all the things that have happened to us haven't happened in this world. Like, Prop 8, all that sort of stuff hasn't happened in this world. So sorry, I just saw that. I just saw that comment. Sorry. But yeah, but I thought this was really tastefully done, because like it's got two young teenage girls, it's not really exploitative. It was really like tender and stuff like that. And I thought, do you know what, you've earned this. You've earned this moment of Ellie kind of like basically showing her heart to Riley and how she really cares about her and how she really feels. And I think the thing is that could have come with rejection. Like, Riley could have gone, "Ew, what you doing?" or anything like that. She goes, "What are you apologising for?" It's like thinking. So I think Riley was into it a little bit, but she's kind of like she's nervous as well.
I really don't know how to take how LGBTQ issues would be taken in the apocalypse. To tell you the truth, it's really difficult to understand. We are talking 20 years after the apocalypse as well, and it's do people care as much? Is it still a major issue? I mean, everyone's just trying to survive, and I personally think there would be less discrimination, because there are bigger things to genuinely worry about. And these people, these kids, they're not brought up in a world with propaganda, and with and surrounded by like such a large group of people. Like they are really contained in a bottle, so to speak. They don't know what the outside world's really like. I mean, remember Ellie never even left the fucking compound until episode 1. You know, like they don't know what other people are like. You know, with you know, even back then in 2020, in 2003, they still had the internet. They would have a better idea of you know if she was around then or now, they should have a better idea of LGBTQ issues and the discrimination that they're still going through nowadays. I personally don't know I don't know how it would be.
I
It's
know,
hard to
but,
say.
but the point I'm trying to get across is that it's one thing feeling that way. It's another thing when you are romantically interested in somebody and you're being vulnerable with them and you don't know how they're going to react to you.
It's young love, dude.
There's still that element of risk because you get rejected, you could get assaulted, you could get a little host of other things, and I think that this was a kind of showing what kind of person Ellie is that she's very gung ho, like when she feels something, she just goes for it, and I think that this was kind of like a bottom of a character where like she felt something for Riley, and as I said, like I mean, I could just see like the kind of right wing like
Before
reaction
you go
channels.
there, look, they are definitely going to do that. That goes without saying. They're going to go agenda all of that. The fandom menace guys, your nerdrotic, your hills versus baby faces, your geeks and gamers, and all these other fucking twats. They're going to go there. That's for sure. But I do, you know, but what you also mentioned earlier is just basically what it means to grow up as a young person.
Yeah,
You know, having a crush. Even today, people are worried about rejection. It still
yeah.
happens today.
Well,
You know, what I
I'm
mean,
I'm 40 fucking years old.
yeah, exactly. So, I just looked at it as just growing up and young love and all of that sort of stuff. And 9 times out of 10, who you fall for at a young age is not who you end up being with. It's just about finding out who you are and compatibility and all of that.
Yeah,
Um, anyway, what else do we have here? I had a hard time believing that they did not know what a screenshot was. It's not as if digital services and power just disappeared. Yeah,
yeah.
but
But the thing,
it's a computer thing, isn't it? Like computers, I'm not sure how useful computers are in the apocalypse.
yeah. Plus, plus the thing is that like like I don't think computers will be as round as they are. And plus, there would be electricity drain. Are probably like are probably well resourced. So I think that computers probably would be go by the wayside. I think.
They
In
did.
my
She did have electric. That location she was sleeping in that did have electric. But remember, she had a lamp, and obviously they were able to power up the generator and stuff for the mall. But overall, I'm just thinking that like them being kids who have not grown up with computers because it became a less important thing. It's post apocalypse. I could totally relate to the fact they had no idea what a screenshot was. I like that. If anything, it was so funny. Screenshot. Huh? What's that mean? I don't know. I actually like that. I actually found very funny. Um, Daniel Mark also said, "I find Ellie very intelligent, naive, and pliable. She likes the affectionate and adapting to her environment."
yeah,
Okay.
and plus to be honest with you, I like a character more here than I do in the video games because in this, she's much more of a human being. She's more vulnerable. She's more. We get to see more layers in her, and again, I thought that this was what made this particular part good is that she showed her vulnerabilities with Riley, all of them, her romantic vulnerabilities, her kind of vulnerabilities with the fact that she's wondering people will leave her, vulnerabilities in regards to how she cares about people and will go into danger rather than run away from it. And I think that this shows you what kind of person she is.
Well, unfortunately, in this world, happiness doesn't last because her and Riley they did plan on. I mean, there was something about them maybe separating after this and going their own ways, with Riley going to the Fireflies and obviously Ellie going back with her group, but that never even happened because they were going to split up. But not in the way they anticipated, because next thing you know, that zombie finally makes an appearance, and they do have a gun, but they weren't able to take it out, and the thing was quite fast, and even though they tried to put shit in between them and the zombie, they managed to catch up with them, and it took a bite out of Ellie, it took a bite out of Riley before they finally killed it, and they couldn't believe it because they're young, they're very young girls, and their life is already fucking over. And as far as they're concerned, I mean, Ellie doesn't realize that she's immune, and you see her and Riley basically talking about um, what's going to happen next, and they talk about maybe killing each other or just letting the virus take them over and continue living that way. And I think that's what Riley decides to choose, doesn't she?
Mm-hmm.
But we never see genuinely what happens after that, because even though Riley lets herself succumb to the virus, and Ellie also does too, obviously Ellie doesn't end up end up happening to Ellie because she's immune. But we don't really see what happens after that. I mean, they stay with each other, they hug each other, they're in each other's arms, but we don't know what happened next, because we go back straight to the present day, and we're at that moment where Ellie had the beginning of the flashback by the door, and she decides to go back into the house, and then she's looking for shit, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is she looking for? Bandages and all of that. But what she ends up finding is a needle and thread, and she goes back to Joel and sews him up. And this looks like how Joel's going to recover by getting his wound sewed up. He'll still be obviously very tender and vulnerable, but it looks like he'll survive for sure. From this moment, and that's how the episode ends. So in a way, it was a very quick resolution to Joel's wound to give us a whole flashback episode. And I thought, regardless of me not being a fan of flashback episodes, I thought this was excellent. So, are you happy with the resolution with Joel being stitched back together again?
Because it's practical. It's something that would be in a house. It's not something that would think, oh, why is that there? It's literally something that could be in any house. It's, a needle thread could be in any house. If someone's a summer or something like that, or if somebody's just like a parent or something, they would have it.
Yeah, she putting Joel back together in more ways than just the physical, for sure. But like this moment also reminded you, like when Joel and Ellie were talking in last week's episode about the people they've lost, and obviously Joel feels really bad because he lost his daughter, but Ellie's lost people as well, and we see one of them in somebody that she loved, I guess. So yeah, it was a very sweet, touching moment, and to see her save Joel as well was great. Joel will obviously be back, and they're going to probably just stay put in. I think might get another time jump, maybe a week or two, for Joel to recover, because even though he's stitched up, doesn't mean that he's ready to jump back on the fucking horse again. So yeah, another great episode. Let's see if I can do a poll for you motherfuckers.
But before we give our scores.
Yeah. So, Last of Us, episode 7. Say 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 till 9, and 10. Okay, here we go. This is for you, Daniel Vance. All right. So, what are you gonna give it, Bossman, out of 10?
I'll give it a 9. Because I thought it was because usually I'm not a big fan of flashback episodes, and this was a really, really good just episode. You'll forget flashback. It was just a really, really good episode. So, with that said, I can't. I mean, I don't feel it's a 10 out of 10 because I think that's saying for the really, really great episodes. But I thought, in regards to good episodes, it was up there. So, yeah, definitely a 9. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give this episode a 8 out of 10. I did enjoy it very much. I 8 out of 10 just feels like adequate for me. It's a very good episode, and I did like it, and it did a lot in a short period of time. More character development. Um, I guess why it doesn't get maybe higher marks than 8, even though 8 is superb, is maybe because the Joel situation got resolved more quicker than it should have. But then again, for some people, that's a good thing that it gets resolved very quickly. So maybe people shouldn't complain about that. I don't know, but nevertheless, 8 out of 10 is what it gets for me. Maybe Daniel Vance can tell us what he's going to give it. They need to find antibiotics, or we're going to have a fever dream episode. Yeah, some people were saying um, regarding her Ellie stitching back Joel again, that she didn't burn the needle to stop any possible infection from happening. But then again, how's she able to do that? I mean, she might not have the luxury of doing that, So, yeah, let's hope no gangrene happens to Joel during the course of his healing, because it's not going to be nice. Yeah, another good episode. 2 more to go, 8 and 9. I don't know how this season's going to resolve, and I do feel that we're going to have some major cliffhanger. What do you think?
Well, as I said, it totally took a left. What was the word? A left turn from where the video game goes, because I can't remember this particular part of the video game. So
It's DLC. It's DLC.
I know it's a DLC, but I mean, even so, I mean, I can't remember Joel being this badly hurt in the video game. I mean, maybe it did happen. I can't remember it, but I think it's probably going to end where he gets to the Firefly Hospital, and then we find out maybe that there's going to be like I think of, do I let it stay? Do I go? There's going to be like a something that goes under the way. That's my prediction right now. But so far, this has been an excellent series. It really has. I mean, like the first episode knocked it out of the park. The second episode was pretty decent. The third episode was great. The fourth episode was good. The fifth episode was brilliant. This episode was great. It's like, I don't think there's really been anything that we would call a subpar episode in this series so far.
I would say maybe episode 4. I think I gave that a 7, and even that was a decent mark. But I mean, that was more of a setup, whilst episode 5 was the payoff. But it's good that we got a little bit of zombie action in this episode as well, which I think some people would have wanted. But yeah, now we're getting into the last 2 big episodes of the season, and for a lot of people, with history kind of tells us, and from experience of watching these television shows, sometimes the penultimate episode is a lot better than the last episode. All right. So whilst Bossman has his minute, and I was planning to wrap up this this particular podcast, I do think next week is going to be a bit of a humdinger. Will they find the Fireflies and maybe get a cure out of Ellie? And from what I've also heard, from what I believe in the video games, is that even though Ellie might be the cure, the answer to a cure, I think the powers that be don't want to just maybe extract Ellie's blood. I think they want to kill her. They want to maybe kill her, get her bone marrow.
So
it's okay, boss man. I was just planning on finishing the stream anyway, and you've frozen. Boss man's frozen. Okay, so yeah, I do feel that we're gonna have more conflict with the Fireflies. As Riley, is she actually dead? will we find out that she's also immune and that she's with the Fireflies as well? Who knows? I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff we need to find out. But let me tell you, lovely people out there, what's coming up here on NerdTube. Tomorrow is episode 13 of Quantum Leap. Yes, finally we're going to get it. Last week it was taken away from us. It was supposed to come out on the 20th, but for some reason it didn't. Now it's coming out on the 28th. And we'll be reviewing that episode tomorrow. I mean, it's coming out today, basically, but we'll be reviewing it tomorrow. So keep an eye out for NerdTube for that. And then, Daniel Vance, I know you're really looking forward to this, mate. You must be really excited about this, mate. Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 1. Double Pascal, baby. Double Pascal. Pascal being that paternal figure twice in one fucking week. Oh my goodness. And then on Thursday, you talk about This Is the Way. Well, the way is Picard Season 3 and Episode 3. So I'm looking forward to that. And maybe we'll get a bit more Worf. Maybe we'll get a couple more other crew members. Bit of Geordie. And Deanna Troy maybe. Who knows? Oh, here he is. Here he is finally. Just wrapping things up here, Gary. But just basically telling them what's on our schedule. So tomorrow is Quantum Leap. Wednesday is The Mandalorian. Thursday is Star Trek. And Gary can confess to this as well, because these last couple of days over the weekend, we have done a lot of fan film recordings.
Yes, we have.
We have watched several fan films and given them our honest opinions. Some good, some not so. But there's one in particular, and I don't want to say what genre it is. I don't want to spoil it too much. But there's one particular fan film that we fucking loved, and I personally gave it a 10 out of 10. So I look forward to you guys figuring out which one that is. But you're gonna have to watch our fan film reactions when they come out to know which one it is. But at the same time, there's some ones, because people do not only like us loving fan films, they like us when we shit on them. But we don't shit on them on purpose. We want quality every time. We wouldn't want to necessarily shit on a fan film. But when a fan film's bad, we are 100% honest about it, and we don't beat around the fucking bush. And there are some fan films we watched that were fucking terrible, and we have fucking said so as well. So if you like us shitting on them or loving them or both, watch our fan film reactions. They'll be coming out also here on NerdTube. Until then, Gary, thank you very much, and to Daniel Vance and anyone else in the chat who's been watching this on various different platforms. With our view count is all over the fucking place at the moment, depending on what people are watching this on.
All right.
Yeah,
so if you're in Motherwell, please come and support my wrestling school as a vice students wrestling in events. So please go and watch them. Sorry.
Events.
Event.
Sorry, event. Yes, in Motherwell in Scotland.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you heard that. All right, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for some Quantum Leap, baby.